I did enjoy him saying ending lobbying for politicians that have gotten themselves out of office. There was a couple things that he said that was really good. I know it's just a bunch, like I said, it's literally was supposed to just rile up his base and get them really excited, because a lot of things that they say, especially important stuff like that, it's the kind of stuff that we have to remember, because I know, and a lot of us too here know, that Trump is just going to not do it if he wins and gets into office. It's just not going to happen. So we really have to pay attention to this, so that way we can hold his feet to the fire if he does win, because there are a couple of things that he did say in there that's like, okay, this is really good. Okay, this is really good. If this is what you're going to claim and you're actually going to win this, I'm going to sit here and remember this and hold your feet to the fire about that. So a few false bad things he said: open borders, eye roll. The radical left, what does that even mean? Okay. Speak to John Roberts Brackey about the voting piece. Okay. Fill me in later. Yeah. Lobbying. The lobbying was the really good one. When I heard him say that last night, I was like, damn, dude. All right. Well, that's what's going to get you past the primaries. That's like the one thing, they always have to find that one thing that gets the base all riled up. So speaking of Trump, and since we're already talking about it, let's bring it up. Let's start watching it. I'm going to skip forward, because Trump, how people love to just sit here.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and my fellow citizens, America's comeback starts right now.
You gotta love the
2 years ago,
the base riling. So let me know if it's I'm gonna try not to
pinnacle of power, prosperity, and prestige.
maybe I need
Towering
to.
above all rivals, vanquishing all enemies, and striding into the future confident and so strong. In 4 short years, everybody was doing great. Men, women, African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, everybody was thriving like never before.
That's a
There
lie.
was never a time like this. We turned the page on decades of globalist sellouts and one-sided trade deals, lifted millions out of poverty, and together we built the greatest economy in the history of the world. When the virus hit our shores, I took decisive action and saved lives.
So I have it on 1.5 speed. So we're gonna see how twacked out Trump is right here by looking at his facial expressions too. That's what I love watching people in super fast speed, because you could see people's like subconscious facial movements and stuff that they don't even realize they're making, because it comes really fast and it looks super funny, instead of being in normal speed where you don't see it because you're just not really paying attention. This is my favorite part. Let's see how drugged up this crazy guy is.
America was roaring back with the #1 fastest economic recovery ever recorded. How about that? All of the incoming administration, and all they had to do was just sit back and watch. Inflation was non-existent. Our southern border was by far the strongest ever. And because the border was so tight, drugs were coming into our country at the lowest level in many, many years. Importantly, after decades of rising energy costs, the United States had finally attained the impossible dream of American energy independence, which soon would have turned into energy dominance. The United States, and quite honestly, they respected me. I knew them well. The vicious ISIS caliphate.
You're always in meetings, Lana. No, I understand. Absolutely. Thank you for stopping by. Everybody, if you have time, really quick, it just takes 1 second. Please hit the like button on the video today. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We are getting so close to our subscription, and I want to give a huge shout out and a thank you, really quick, to the Willie Bragg Show. Holy crap, dude. Thank you so much for living the corporate life. Thank you so much for getting people out and reaching out and getting people to follow our show. You added 10 more people to our subscription list yesterday, all by yourself, and I just want to give a big thank you. I am in the process of thinking of something to make for you. I do crochet. If you would like, I can crochet you a beanie or a scarf or something as a thank you. I was thinking of making you a scarf that's like your red color with a little bit of your yellow for like your logo and your thumbnail colors. So if you're still here, Willie, let me know if you would want a beanie or a scarf or something so I can thank you for helping us with those subscribers. And thank you for the 10 new subscribers that are here that subscribed. Super, super thank you. Absolutely means a lot to us here, working our asses off. It makes me want to cry because it's just so like a lot of this stuff that I've done since I started doing this show about a month and a half ago was proving to myself. I started off kind of petty and wanting to prove to other people like this, I can do this. Like I can actually do, like I can prove to you guys that I can do this. And it's starting to become to a point where I'm always the kind of person that's like fake it till you make it, do it for somebody or something else until you feel comfortable that you're doing it for yourself. And that's what I've been doing. I've been doing it to prove to other people that, we can do this at KRTD. This is something that we're passionate about. We love it here. This is our our home at the time or at the moment. And so now I'm at a point where I'm like proving it to myself, and it's really helping with the confidence and the anxiety and the lack of confidence that I used to have. So I just want to give a huge shout out to Willie Braggs for helping out yesterday and the day before with the subscriber count. I don't know how much you would ever understand how much that means to me and to us here at KRTD. So I super appreciate you and thank you so much. Jim, oh, it's good to see you. There is a guy here in the comments section earlier today named John, John Stavet. Stasevic. I'm going to ask him how to pronounce his name correctly. He's running for president in 2024 as an independent. So if you want to interview him too, let me know. That way we can, talk to him too. That way you can talk to him as well. So definitely, yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm getting, like I said, I'm starting to get proud of myself, which is, it would not be, it could not even happen without all of you. So thank you so much. Really so much. Okay, I will stop whining and continue playing Trump, who is the real whiner.
Great warriors in less than 3 weeks, and al-Baghdadi, its founder, was hunted down and killed.
Yes. I do have a link to his bio here. He put it up earlier as well, and I will send you if you're still here, Jim Engel is part of the People's Party. No, absolutely no relation to the movement for a People's Party. I really want to start getting Jim back into politics and election politics and stuff, because I just know that that's his passion. He wouldn't have started the official People's Party if he didn't have that passion. So definitely want to get Jim back into the swing of things with that. And maybe hopefully you can surpass the Nick Branya movement for a People's Party, because they, pretty much stole the idea from you anyway. So yeah, I know we need to use Messenger for now. You got it. Absolutely. I don't mind throwing the link up in here for all the other pages too, because when I throw the link up in here through StreamYard, it sends it to Facebook and Twitch too, which also gives like those like platforms that I'm live right now a comment. So it kind of helps with the algorithm and the bumping and all that stuff too. So I don't mind sharing it in there. But if you can't click it, I will definitely send you the video or the link later. But if you type in the link that I just sent and just look at his first and last name, and then it's 2024.com, it's pretty goddamn easy, or not, geez, I'm so mean. Not pretty goddamn easy, but it's not too hard to just kind of remember how to spell. That was my hard part right now, is trying to remember how to spell his last name. He's got a very unique last name. So yeah. Okay, so let's finish watching El Trumpo.
North Korea had not launched a single long-range missile since my summit with Chairman Kim Jong-un nearly 3 years before we developed a relationship. And that's a good thing, not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Very good thing, actually, because look at what's happening today. My opponents made me out to be a warmonger and just a terrible person who would immediately go into war. They said during the 2016 campaign that if he becomes president, there will never be a war within weeks, and we will have wars like you've never seen before. It will happen immediately, and yet I've gone decades without a war, the first president to do it for that long a period. The world was at peace, America was prospering, and our country was on track for an amazing future because I made big promises to the American people, and unlike other presidents, I kept my promises. I kept them. Thank you very much. Under our leadership, we were a great and glorious nation, something you haven't heard for.
I just want to remind you, because sometime in this video, at some point in the future, he tells everyone to sit down, which means that these people right now, this whole speech right now, they're all standing. Just so you guys know, everyone in the audience is standing.
Of time. We were a strong nation, and importantly, we were a free nation. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. For millions of Americans, the past 2 years under Joe Biden have been a time of pain, hardship, anxiety.
Hey, Jim, I sent you his link in Facebook Messenger, so you got it now.
As we speak, inflation is the highest in over 50 years. Gas prices have reached the highest levels in history and expect them to go much higher now that the strategic national reserves, which I filled up, have been virtually drained in order to keep gasoline prices lower just prior to the election. Joe Biden has intentionally surrendered our energy independence. There is no longer even a thought of dominance, and we are now begging for energy help from foreign nations, many of whom find us detestable. Our southern border has been erased, and our country is being invaded by millions and millions of unknown people, many of whom are entering for a very bad and sinister reason. And you know what that reason is. We will be paying a big price for this invasion into our country for years to come. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of deadly drugs, including very lethal fentanyl, are flooding across the now open and totally porous southern border. The blood-soaked streets of our once great cities are cesspools of violent crimes, which are being watched all over the world as leadership of other countries explain that this is what America and democracy is really all about. How sad. The United States has been embarrassed, humiliated, and weakened for all to see. The disasters in Afghanistan, perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, where we lost lives, left Americans behind, and surrendered $85 billion worth of the finest military equipment anywhere in the world. And Ukraine, which would have never happened if I were your president, are something. And even the Democrats admit that. That's something I've seen them admit over and over again. But our enemies are speaking of us with scorn and laughter and derision because of those two events. But there are many more. Even just today, a missile was sent in, probably by Russia, to Poland, 50 miles into Poland. And people are going absolutely wild and crazy, and they're not happy. They're very, very angry. Now we have a president who falls asleep at global conferences, was held in contempt by the British Parliament over Afghanistan. Thanks to the words of wisdom, he said thank you to the wrong country for inviting him to a major summit on the environment of all things. They fly for days to get there, and then he calls the country a name that was actually a country on another continent. And he's leading us to the brink of nuclear war, a concept unimaginable just 2 short years ago. You cannot mention the nuclear word. It's too devastating.
Like, okay, so Shaking Bacon was saying this last night, and I kind of have to agree a little bit. Like, I don't like Trump. I don't want Trump to win or anything like that. But we got to give it to Trump on one thing, and he definitely can speak a lot better than Biden. he definitely has a lot more. You can understand him a lot better than you can with Biden, which my friend Shaken Bacon said that yesterday, and it's really interesting to hear it from his point of view because he's Canadian. So hearing it from an outside perspective of somebody who can't even vote in our country but still pays attention, I think that's very interesting and made a good point. Like he does have that one up on Biden for sure. Yeah, he knows how to manipulate better. Absolutely.
New Deal and the environment, which they say may affect us in 300 years. is all that is talked about, and yet nuclear weapons, which would destroy the world immediately, are never even discussed as a major threat. Can you imagine? They say the ocean will rise 1/8 of an inch over the next 200 to 300 years. But don't worry about nuclear weapons that can take out entire countries with one shot. Something is wrong with their thinking. Under Biden and the radical Democrats, America has been mocked, derided, and brought to its knees, perhaps like never before. But we are here tonight to declare that it does not have to be this way. It does not have to be this way. Two years ago, we were a great nation, and soon we will be a great nation again. The decline of America is being forced upon us by Biden and the radical left lunatics running our government right into the ground. This decline is not a fate we must accept. When given the choice, boldly, clearly, and directly, I believe the American people will overwhelmingly reject the left's platform of national ruin, and they will embrace our platform of national greatness and glory to America. Glory. Exactly 1 week ago, our citizens voted in the important midterm elections, and despite a ridiculously long and unnecessary—
All right, we got to find, there was like a better spot.
I have no doubt that by 2024, it will sadly be much worse, and they will see much more clearly what happened and what is happening to our country, and the voting will be much different. 2024.
Yeah.
Are you getting ready? The success rate is that the Trump administration changed our nation on trade, on securing the border with the strongest, safest border ever in the history of our country, on Islamic terrorism. We had practically, just about, not that I can think of, no Islamic attacks, terrorist attacks during the Trump administration. And in fact, we got along very well with the various countries, including coming up with the Abraham Accords. That's a great thing, the Abraham Accords. But it's because of cutting taxes and cutting regulations at the highest level ever, and on building the greatest economy. Any time in the history of the world, there's never been an economy like we had just 2 years ago. Despite the outcome in the Senate, we cannot lose hope. And we must all work very hard for a gentleman and a great person named Herschel Walker, a fabulous human being who loves our country and will be a great United States.
Damn, John and Yona, y'all up in the chats talking about old yellering these presidential candidates. It's like, all right, old yeller, time to take you out to the back. You're getting a little old.
Senator Herschel Walker, get out and vote for Herschel, and he deserves it. He was an incredible athlete. He'll be an even better senator. Get out and vote for Herschel Walker. We elected a group of incredibly talented America First leaders who will be stars of our party for many years to come. In the popular vote, another thing that's not discussed for the House, we must remember that Republicans won 5 million more votes, the largest margin in many, many years, over the Democrats. 5 million more votes. That's a big thing. Breaking the radical Democrats' grip on Congress was crucial. So in other words, because of our great congressmen and all of our great congressmen and congresswomen, we have taken over Congress. Nancy Pelosi has been fired. Isn't that nice?
Is he talking in like fantasy world right now?
And it's a word you don't use. 2 words. I don't want to be Joe. It's 2 words. American dream. That was not good what he did. There are a lot of bad things, like going to Idaho and saying, "Welcome to the state of Florida." I really love it. In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States. Thank you. Thank you. All of you. So many incredible friends and family here tonight. It's such a beautiful thing. Some people say, "How do you speak before so many people all the time?" When there's love in the room, it's really easy, if you want to know the truth.
When you're dying for attention that much, it's really easy. Say the truth, Trump. You like the attention.
You ought to try it sometime. Together, we will be taking on the most corrupt forces and entrenched interests imaginable. Our country is in a horrible state. We're in grave trouble. This is not a task for a politician or a conventional candidate. This is a task for a great movement that embodies the courage, confidence, and the spirit of the American people. This is a movement. This is not for any one individual. This is a job.
Yeah, same. I'm trying to look for the good parts. So I'm trying to skip through it as much as I can because it's an hour long. So I know I'm not trying to play all of it, I promise. I'm like 20 minutes in and I'm skipping through.
And just look at what's happening. This is a party that has become much bigger, much stronger, much more powerful, can do much more good for people on earth. We love them all. And we love both sides. We're going to bring people together. We're going to unify people. And it was happening in the previous administration, previous to the previous. And what was bringing them together was success. Prior to COVID coming in, the people were calling me, that were calling me. You wouldn't believe it. People that were so
Wait,
fired up.
I want to know, Marxist Leninist, how is term limits undemocratic? Because term limits is just making sure that these politicians don't turn into career politicians. Like Nancy Pelosi has had her spot for 50, 40, 50 years. And if there was term limits, that area would have been changed up to have somebody different, so that way things can change. I think like career politicians, Supreme Court justices, a lot of those I think should, because presidents, they have term limits. They only get to run twice, and that's it. But why does Congress, why does Senate, why does Supreme Court justice, why do they all get to stay in their positions as long as they're corrupt enough to be able to buy them that spot and stay in it for all time? So I think term limits, at least to a certain extent, would probably be good. And I could see as maybe a little bit more democratic than allowing this whole like nepotism type stuff. Like, because like with Pelosi, like we've already been hearing through the rumor mill that if she doesn't run again, she's going to put her daughter in that spot. That's nepotism. That's kind of like how the monarchy rules in the UK. So how are we supposed to combat that with our own system and our own government? We don't have the monarchy to where they're just able to do it. We actually vote. So is there a way to make it democratic to where they can't do something like that and they can't be in office for so long to where they're comfortable? So yeah, Pelosi, AOC, Schumer. Okay. The reason why it's undemocratic is because if the majority of Americans support a politician, they should be able to reelect them. But term limits prevent that. But see, then there's a problem with American politics that we have caucuses every 10 years to where they redraw district lines. And every time we do that, these politicians who are in power at the time draw these district lines to where they that's why you see like gerrymandering a lot with these lines of districts, how they're all wiggly and wrong and stuff, is because these politicians will draw these lines specifically to where they have enough of their own people to win, and then they keep it like that and they stay there, and then so those people will only vote for them. Like Nancy Pelosi, she lives and her district is in a very, very, very high end, gated off, rich area next to San Francisco, to where she will never be voted out of office because of the fact that those people will get what they want all the time. They're really rich, but then you go like a couple districts away and it's a really poor area, and it's still done, ran by a Democrat. But yeah, it seems to me like, what was I trying to say? Like these politicians rig the system into making sure that they stay there for a very long time. And I feel like with term limits, it could help that cancel itself out completely. I don't, if you understand what I'm trying to say. The problem is not term limits, but bad politicians. Term limits do not stop voters from voting bad politicians out. Right. But is there a way that we can come to like a, a happy medium? Like maybe what you're saying is like on one full end, like on one side of the pendulum, and then what I'm saying is on the other end of the pendulum. So is there a way that that pendulum can kind of even out and find a middle ground? Like, maybe have term limits, but have it up to, instead of like presidents where you get 4 years, a 2-term limits, have Congress and Senate do like a 5-term limit or a 4-term limit. That way they get enough time to see, you've got these 8 to 10 years to figure out whether or not you can change our district, which is more than enough time. And if you don't, then that's when your term limit is up, and see if somebody else happens. But then I can also see from your point of view, if that person is doing really well for the 10 years and they don't want them to move or to get booted out, then what's going to happen? But it just sucks because a lot of the districts out here, if you look at all the districts in a bigger picture, the poor districts never get what they want. They're never represented. And the rich districts are overrepresented and get more than what they want at all times. So there's got to be some kind of like happy medium somewhere to where, you know, there's equity and equality in the poor districts compared to the rich, comparatively to the rich districts, to where everybody's being represented instead of just the rich districts, to where Nancy Pelosi can go into Congress and say our government and our America is doing so great because you kicked out all the poor people out of your area, and now it's just all the rich people who support you, and that's it. That's where it's like, there's got to be like a happy medium somewhere, right? Stalin and Lenin were for or against term limits? I have no idea. That's a really good question. We should blame the voters for reelecting the bad politicians. No way. I can never, ever, ever, ever blame regular people. Because as regular citizens, you cannot judge people for not knowing what they don't know. A lot of people are just, brainwashed into watching mainstream media. It's just part of people's lives. And that's part of the whole waking up process, and having them see it, is that's the job, is that we have to help them see that. But I could never, never blame the voters for not knowing what they don't know. North Korea has no term limits, right? Yeah, no, how's that going? Exactly. That's what I worry about. That's my biggest fear, is like that kind of stuff, like the monarchy and like in North Korea. So you support the DPRK? Okay. No, absolutely. I that's why I like these conversations. Right. The people are not always right, but I would rather listen and talk to the people of America than listen to these politicians who are just been giving us this bait and switch, speeches for the last however long. So, but yeah, no, I could never, never, never blame the voters. Stop giving all of our GDP to the 1% and shit will get better. Yeah, for real. Abso-fucking-lutely. Like, that's a number one big thing. So, you can't blame the voters when the elections are not 100% one person, one vote. Right, because we've got the Electoral College, and then we think it's one vote, but I mean, it is technically, but you can get that more than one, or the one votes, and a lot of those one votes if you have enough money. So, and that is, kind of, I guess it is see, I can't blame the voters. I just can't, because they're just living their life, and what they see on a commercial or on TV is just what they do and see in between their regular lives. So I could never, ever, ever blame the voters, for sure. Like I said, if the majority of people are against a politician, they could vote him out. But that's the thing, though, is like, okay, so like with Nancy Pelosi, the majority of America doesn't like her. There's all of the Republicans don't like her. All of the independents don't like her. It's just the Democratic toting people that really like her, and especially like the high up rich people, because they're doing what she bids. So that's where I don't see it. Like, she's able to keep her office because her little district here in California is a very rich district, but the rest of the country doesn't like what she's doing, and they put her as the House majority, or I mean the Speaker of the House. So she's the one that represents all of the Congress, but more than 75% of America doesn't like her, even though she keeps getting re-voted in because of how corrupt her district is and how brainwashed her area is. She's always going to win in that area, even though everybody doesn't like her, and she's literally the representative of everybody in the house. I don't see, like, there's where a problem does lie. So yeah, term limit. I agree. Term limits are a necessity. You get career politicians like we have now, right? Absolutely. Like, yeah, like most of them, you've got to think it's not just Nancy Pelosi. There's a lot of them. Mitch McConnell. You've got um, Mansion. You've got tons of people who are super corrupt and only win because their districts are super rich and they gerrymandered it that way to where they're going to win. And the rest of the country can't fucking stand what they're doing, and they're holding us all back when they could have somebody new. And just like I've heard in the rumor mill, once Nancy Pelosi drops out and retires, she's going to put her daughter in that spot. And the people are going to listen to her because they get what they want out there in that district. They're happy. They're rich. They're super uber rich and are getting everything that they want. So they're never going to unvote or vote her out. But the rest of the country is like, we can't stand her. She's not doing anything for the poor people and for the rest of us, while she's saying that America is just amazing and it's great and it's doing so well and she's so proud of things. Like that's where we'd have to have term limits because of people like Pelosi and Manchin and all of them. Right? In a true democracy, there should never exist a career ruling class, right? I might be confusing not having term limits for not having elections. Those are completely separate things. No, I'm talking about term limits. We're gonna have elections no matter what. We're a democratic republic, so I have a compromise. Okay, you have a compromise? All right, all right. Do you think politicians should be able to be recalled at any time if there are no longer term limits? We have that in a way, the vote of no confidence, but it seems to never work. I think we try to do that with our governor here in California, Gavin Newsom, and like he just went on this super campaign trail of like, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and just telling people that he's going to do all these amazing things for them if they keep him and don't vote him out, and they didn't, and now he's still not doing anything. And I think that's where we're getting tired of it, is like, we can vote out or try to vote out somebody with a vote of no confidence as much as we want, but it never actually happens because the system doesn't want the status quo to change. So I feel like term limits might be our only kind of solution to be able to not have these career politicians who keep promising us stuff every 2 to 4 years and then never following up on it, and then repromising as if we all forgot about it in the next election, and then just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. A more inclusive and representative government has higher turnover, not unlimited terms for careers, right? Oh, you're good, Jim. Thank you. Right. The voters are not always right, but that's the whole point of a democracy, is that everybody gets a vote no matter what. The people not being right, that's human flaws. You think that the people aren't right. Look at the politicians. The politicians are not always right, but are literally corrupting and ruining our country. We are slowly, in America, slowly turning into the fall of Rome. We are on a slow track path to just this like autocracy, oligarchy, monarchy type economy, where CEOs and corporate business owners are actually, the runners and the rulers of our country. So I would rather have the people, the regular citizens, be wrong about voting for the wrong person than listening to these politicians and having them get away with what they want when they're wrong. And it's more detrimental to society and to humanity and to their constituents and our country than people voting for the wrong person. I just could never. I'm not the hive mind kind of person. I don't look at like our country as in like a team, like there's no I in team, because with that whole thing, with that theory and with that mindset, it only takes one person to ruin everything with that mindset. Once one person fucks up, everybody gets punished for it. And that's how I feel like we kind of already are in politics right now, is one person does something wrong, especially like a politician or somebody who's in power does something wrong and we all have to suffer for it. And that's what I don't like. I love the division and the uniqueness of everybody's mentality of why they go out and vote. Yes, I would love for people to be more open-minded. Yes, I would love for people to be more knowledgeable on politics and how things work. But like I said earlier, you can't blame people for not knowing what they don't know. And if they're wrong, then that's up to a lot of us to kind of help them figure that out. You know, it's them. They were the ones that have been brainwashed by these really elite people that want to keep themselves in power, keep the duopoly going. And I feel like those people being wrong and we're listening to them, it's actually even more detrimental for human society than a couple of regular citizens voting wrong a couple of times here and there, because eventually people are going to get it right if you give them enough power and enough time. But the way that it is now, you're not giving anybody any power, you're not giving anybody any time, and these politicians are still going to keep making the wrong decisions. So you can solve the career politician problem by being able to recall politicians at any time if the majority of the voters want it. It's a good compromise. No, and I don't mind having recalling politicians, kind of like how you recall like bad food or bad products and stuff. It's just that's a whole nother campaign that you've got to get people pumped up and excited for all this extra work, where people here in America just don't feel like they have enough time to do all of that. And so that kind of thing happens. And so you've got to rile up a whole campaign, rile up a whole voter base, make sure people go and vote to recall this person when it comes time to. There's just so much that goes on with that. It just feels like they're with the what is it? I just totally blanked out on the word. Where politicians term limits, with the term limits, I feel like they get their set of time, they get time to prove themselves. Maybe like how the presidential run, like if they do their, well, I guess it'd be different because once you run for 4 years or for 8 years, that's it. But like maybe president or the terms in office could be like you get a 10-year. If you don't prove yourself, then it's time to vote somebody else in, and then they get the time to prove themselves. And if they don't within, like, let's say the 2 to 4 years, you can bring back that other congressperson and they can do another 10-year if they want to, as long as there's a break. So that way people can kind of get an idea of different outcomes and stuff. Because there are areas that don't have really good outcomes in their areas. So it's a very confusing thing for sure. Kiona's customers are not always right, yet treated with respect and wishes honored nonetheless, right? Such authoritarianism Yona detects. Yona likes the red tomahawk, but not the gold sickle. At a time when we never had older politicians in office and never had longer holders of office in history, what do you suggest? Yeah, because like even Biden, him being president right now and him being this career politician, and now he's president and he ain't doing shit for us. Biden was the second youngest person to ever be voted into office, and he's just been here this whole time. And then now look at it, like, there's just the proof right there that term limits should happen, because this guy's been in forever. He wrote the crime bill, he fucked over Anita Hill, and then he was vice president, and now he's president. Like, that should never happen to those kind of corrupt ass people. And if people were able to really vote without being gerrymandered in their district to where they feel like to where there is no power with these votes because it's gerrymandered that way by caucuses. Yeah, I think term limits is probably a good idea. I agree. Make election day a federal holiday for sure. It needs to stop being on a Tuesday afternoon during the work week. It's ridiculous right now. Recall votes as an answer to term limits is logical fallacy and poor sophistry, apples and oranges. Right. Yeah, they're two totally different things. One is trying to vote, giving these politicians a certain amount of time to prove themselves while voting them in. And then the other one is they're already in and we don't trust them because they've been in for so long and we get them out. So I think maybe a mix between the two would probably be pretty decent. Because we do have like a vote of no confidence. We already do have that. It's not as powerful as we think it is, because we just dealt with that with Gavin Newsom here in California, and it didn't work out as well as we thought it was going to. Um, Last thing, if you're concerned about career politicians, then why not allow just one term and not allow re-elections at all? That would solve it. Because then why just give them one time? Because I feel like just with one time and one time only, they don't have enough, because to not enough time to prove themselves, because you can have like 2 to 4 years and it's more than enough time to prove yourself. I just feel like with one term, if people really enjoy that person, at least give them a couple more, like, 2 or 3 more, to give it more of a proving themselves, kind of thing. And that's where a lot of the hard part comes in, because like with the term limits for president, that was brought on because of FDR was a president for 3 or 4 terms before he passed, and he was doing so well for the country with with the New Deal and the human rights declaration constitution thing. So he was doing really good, and I think it was the corrupt ones were like, no, we need to put term limits on presidents now, because this guy was in for too long and he was starting to do really good things, and we don't like this to help benefit society. So they're like, nah, term limits is good. And so this is what we get from it. So make a voting day holiday. Yeah. One 5-year term. I mean, it's a possibility. Yeah. That's what's so great about these conversations, is trying to find that middle ground where people are like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's actually a really good idea. So yeah, maybe like a one term where you get like 6 or 7 years to prove yourself, and then that's it. You're done for. Next person. And that next person can keep going on with the one that previous politician did, and keep it going, or they can change it to suit the constituent. So there's definitely a bunch of different ways. More voting is more. Yeah, we need a direct. I'm down for like the direct democracy part. I'm totally up for the direct democracy. Yes, it's going to be a lot more voting on our parts as regular citizens, but that's how we get what we want, instead of allowing these politicians to make laws and pass them by what lobbyists are giving them, like what APEC is giving them to do, to pass to so they can get what they want. Definitely need more direct democracy in our country for sure. I made my point. Term limits can hurt, right? It can, and that's where I see your point at as well. But also, term limits can hurt corrupt politicians as well. So there's got to be a point where we can get the progressive things that we want passed and done, but also figure out a way to stop these corrupt guys from staying in so long. Like I was saying earlier, like it's a great idea. I'm totally down with the term limit. Like I'm okay with meeting in the middle on that. It's so hard to actually get a vote of no confidence to recall politicians. It's like almost impossible to do that. It's really almost impossible to get that done. So yeah, term limits were created FDR, right? And that's what really that's where I see your point in trying to figure out like a middle ground, because I understand that, and I do see that, and I do get it. It's just like, even though yes, your side is like, see, this is what happened with the progressives, this is why we need it, but then what about now, with the corrupt ones? Like they ended it for the progressive president at the time, but they're keeping it so that the corrupt politicians can stay in office now, like Congress and Senate. There's no term limits for them, but then they're able to be in for 30, 40 years and make the changes that they want in their district, and make theirs grow and make them rich, and do everything that they want, and that's corrupt, and we need to figure out how to get rid of that, because I'm telling you, this recall, this vote of no confidence thing, it just doesn't work as well as you think it does. It really, really doesn't. I paid a lot of attention to the Gavin Newsom thing, because that's huge. That was huge, trying to get rid of Gavin Newsom out here in California, our governor, and it just didn't work. Even though we recalled him, he just got voted in again just this last week during the primaries, so he won again. So, and we know he's corrupt as shit. We were the ones, even Democrats, not Democrats, but like progressives, we were ones that were wanting to recall him or vote of no confidence as well, but he ended up staying in. So, how do you fix that? When there's no way for you to win the whole recall part. So have voting twice a year, and you can hold 10 terms in a lifetime, which is your magic 5 years. That's a good one. Yeah, you get 10 terms throughout your lifetime. Figure out what generation you want to help out, and that's it. Recall vote is a red herring. They're outraged. They are so hard, so hard, and so difficult to get past. It's ridiculous. I'm telling you, here in California, it was so hard to get rid of Gavin Newsom, and a lot of people hated him. There's a lot of us that didn't like him, and he still ended up staying, and now he still got voted in again for another, couple of years. So, like I said, yeah, there's got to be something. I would love for you to come on, Marxist Leninists, if you ever want to come on and we can talk about that topic exactly. I'm down if you ever want to. All right, let's watch this old man some more.
At a big G20 dinner tonight, everybody flew over to wherever they flew over, and guess what? He never showed up. They're still looking for him. What's going on? G20, I used to love that. The leaders, I used to make deals for our country like you wouldn't believe. It was one, give me the next one, give me the next one. And we got them to stop taking advantage of our country. Every nation took advantage of our country. We renegotiated deals with Mexico and Canada, USMCA. We got rid of the worst trade deal ever made. NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made. That's why the farmers loved Trump, because we did a great job, but manufacturers also. And we did a deal. We restructured our terrible deal with Japan. And I did it with Prime Minister Abe, a great man.
Yay!
Great man. I love this country so much, but we restructured and made it a really terrific deal. And with South Korea and so many other countries. And the best of all was what we did to China. We made an incredible deal, but after COVID, I don't even bother talking about it, because the devastation that caused for the entire world was too much to bear. I will ensure that Joe Biden does not receive 4 more years in 2020.
You're so awesome, Yona. I love you.
Our country could not take that. And I say that not in laughter. I say that in tears. Our country could not take 4 more years. It can only take so much. It's all very fragile to start off with. It can only take so much. In 2020, I received the largest number of votes of any sitting president in history by a lot. And we will do it again, but with even more votes this time. Many have noted that huge gains we have made with Latino voters, and I believe we will set even greater records with this crucial vote in 2024. The Hispanic voter, the Latino voter has been unbelievable. Great people, very entrepreneurial people, and they want security. And everyone thought when I did the wall, I built the wall, and they thought, oh, that would hurt me with the Hispanic vote. No, it helped me because they understood. They wanted safety. They wanted security. And they understood the border better than anybody else. So they were amazed that we started that trend, and now we're continuing with that trend. You look at what we've done in Florida, what everybody's doing now in Florida and Texas, along the border in Texas, won every single community. I won every single community. Governor of Texas called. Great gentleman, just got reelected. And he said to me, I'd like to talk to you for a second. Well, he said, you've done something that nobody else has done. You've won every single area along the borders, the longest since Reconstruction. I said, Reconstruction? I guess you call that the Civil War? That's what I call it? That's what I call it. Governor Abbott, very good man, and he's working hard, but it's horrible because what's happening is they're just sending hundreds of thousands of people right through his state, right through Arizona, right through all of the states.
Okay, just talking about election stuff. There's some other stuff that he was talking about that was a lot better.
But this time we'll do it bigger, stronger, better than anybody can even imagine. One thing every economist agrees, don't have it zero, have it like at 1%. They even say 1 to 2, but I said, let's do 1. And we had it at 1%, and we had it there for a long period of time, and we had the value of the dollar. We had it so that this country could make a lot of money, and I fought other countries. Thank you very much. We do love our country, isn't it? That's why we're here. I didn't need this. I had a very nice, easy life. It's This is something I didn't need, and a lot of you people don't need either. But we love our country. We
have
have
to
to
take
take
care
care
of
of
our
our
country.
country.
I love how I heard him say that last night, and it's so funny. He's like, I have a good life outside of here. I don't need this. And he said this back in like 2016 as well. And it's so funny because he's like, we know you don't need this, Trump, but you love the attention. So come on, dude. Just admit that you like the attention. It's not because you love this country or anything. You just want the attention.
We have to save our country. Every policy must be geared toward that which supports the American worker, the American family, and businesses, both large and small, and allows our country to compete with other nations on a very level playing field, which we never had until I came along and the Trump administration came along. And now we're losing it. They're moving back into China. They're moving back into these other countries. It's horrible. That means low taxes, low regulations, and fair trade, much of which I've already completed, but now will even greatly enhance. Other countries should pay for the privilege of coming into the American marketplace. They have to pay to come into our country and make all of that money, take it away from us. And thanks to the Trump administration, still the best and the biggest country in the world is what we have. We have the best and the biggest. If you remember, for many years,
so right there, he's talking about tariffs. I'm going to skip it forward because I cannot find the parts that I really enjoyed or what I wanted to talk about. I know in here he was saying at some point talking about drug dealers and I forgot the other words like mobsters or something like that. Cartel, that's what it was. He's talking about how drug dealers and cartel people should be sentenced to death. And it was really interesting to hear that part yesterday because I was talking with my two friends, Les Bones and Shake and Bacon, about it yesterday when we were watching it. They were watching it too, and we were all watching it or listening to it. And it's so funny because Shake and Bacon is from Canada. So when he heard that part, he's like, is he talking about the pharmaceutical companies? Is he talking about like, CEOs and stuff? And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like when he says drug cartels and human traffickers and stuff like that, he's talking about immigrants. And so I thought that was really horrible. He says that he wants to give the death penalty to those people, which really is a scary thing if you think about it. Like if some guy in Utah, has like I don't know, like a pound of marijuana or a pound of weed or something. If he was president, it feels like if this guy just has this side job where he sells weed in Utah or something, or a state where it's super illegal, and he gets busted with like like a gram of weed because he's on his way to dealing it to somebody's house or giving it to some, selling it to someone, that guy's going to get the death penalty. And I thought that's wrong. Like even just something so small as that, like I don't care if you're a drug dealer or anything like that. Like if you're out there trying to make your money and hustle it, then absolutely, like go out there and make your money and do what you got to do. You shouldn't be. I'm completely against the death penalty. It's so corrupt, and people have been put to death that were wrongly accused anyway, that it should never, 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 never happen. So I want to get towards the end because he says one more thing that I actually thought was a really good point. This is definitely going to be his calling for the next 2 years. It's going to get the base riled up, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to get this. He's going to get a lot of people backing him up because of this point. And I know it was like somewhere towards the end, and then we'll change it up because it's already 11:30, and I've got like an hour and a half left and still a lot to cover.
And all of this stuff, and they end up 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. By that time, everyone forgot there was even an election. Greater than it ever was. Our country was great. Our country's not great anymore. Our country's a laughing stock right now. But our country can be greater than it ever was before by a lot. There will be more, much more to come in the months ahead. There are so many things we can do. Many of them are not even hard to implement. The journey ahead of us will not be easy. Anyone who truly seeks to take on this rigged and corrupt system will be faced with a storm of fire that only a few could understand, right? Al Capone got far less. Billy the Kid got almost none. Jesse James, no. Eric Trump got more subpoenas. He's a PhD in subpoenas. They come from Congress. And I appreciate the job you do and the abuse that you've taken. I really do.
Did he say Billy the Kid did not get as many subpoenas? Oh man, that's really funny that he is comparing his life to the Wild Wild West, but okay, dude.
I go home and she says, they do love her. I go home and she says, you look angry and upset. I say, just leave me alone. Hasn't been the easiest thing, but she's been We will be resisted by the combined forces of the establishment, the media, the special interests, the globalists, the Marxist radicals, the woke corporations, the weaponized power of the federal government, the colossal political machines, the tidal wave of dark money, and the most dangerous domestic censorship system ever created by man or woman, the most dangerous system we've ever had. We will be attacked. We will be slandered. We will be persecuted just as I have been. I have been, but many people in this room have been. But we will not be intimidated. We will persevere. We will stand tall in the storm. We will march forward into the torrent. And we, in the end, will win. Our country will win. We will win. My fellow Americans, we will join together and reverse this staggering American decline, and it is staggering indeed, and we will again restore the spirit of our nation. And then we must build and raise up a legacy that will stand without equal in the entire history of the world. With your help, we will create communities where our children will grow up safe and strong, and a nation where they will grow up free, prosperous, and well. We will reestablish the principles of hard work and merit and end the scourge of homelessness that is plaguing our beleaguered
I might have passed it already.
We will heal our divisions and bring our people back together through incredible success. We will defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We will expand, leave Congress, and they paid millions and millions and millions of dollars a year, people. To further drain the swamp, I will push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress. It's time. It's time. And I will ask for a permanent ban on taxpayer funding of campaigns.
This is it right here. Yep. Ban on taxpayer funding for campaigns. No more private funding for campaigns anymore. Smart.
Lobbying by former members of Congress and cabinet members.
And yeah, no more lobbying by former members of Congress and cabinet members. Like right there, that was the sweet spot that I think is really going to stand out for him is this part.
Of Congress. It's time. It's time. And I will ask for a permanent ban on taxpayer funding of campaigns, a lifetime ban on lobbying by former members of Congress and cabinet members. No, I see what they make. They leave the White House or they leave Congress and they're paid millions and millions and millions of dollars a year. No, you have to have a ban. We want a ban on members of Congress getting rich by trading stocks with insider information. And many of our great members agree with that. They actually agree with that. And of course, we will do whatever it takes to bring back honesty, confidence, and trust in our elections.
There's more of that fluff piece. Now he's getting into like the fluff pieces of what I'm gonna do for this country. So that was a big part right there that really stood out to me last night watching it. I think that's really going to be his calling. He's going to get a lot of people that aren't paying a lot of attention to politics, that aren't voting for the, that don't want the duopoly, but see something unique in Trump. And that's going to be the part that's going to stand out right there is the lifetime ban on lobbying for retired Congress and senators, and then the private funding of campaigns. I think that's going to be his really big standing out point. I really think that's gonna help him get a lot of the votes that he probably would have lost right now because of everybody kind of turning away from Trump, it seems like. This is pretty much, I feel like this is what's going to bring him his base back for sure.